Confidence doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from taking steps while you're still scared. Most people wait for fear to go away before they act, but fear does not disappear on its own. It only loosens its grip when you move through it. After a herpes diagnosis, fear convinces you to play small, to stay quiet, and to hold back parts of yourself. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system learned that hiding feels safer. So today, I'm going to show you why courage is the doorway back to confidence. Not forced confidence, not fake confidence, but real confidence that comes from proving to yourself that fear doesn't get to run your life anymore. Hi, I'm Dupree, and I help people to navigate life with herpes. This episode is part 4 of the Shift Your Mindset About Herpes series. In the first episode, we started by separating who you are from your diagnosis. Then we looked at how the thoughts you repeat shape what you believe is possible for you. After that, we explored how those beliefs influence love and the choices you make in relationships. And most recently, we talked about letting go of the emotional reactions that keep you stuck in old patterns. All of that now brings us here. Because understanding your patterns and loosening your grip on the past is only part of the work. The next step is learning how to move forward, even when fear is still present. This is why we're diving into courage and how it's the bridge between staying where you are and actually moving forward. I'm going to talk about how courage builds confidence, why playing it safe and keeping quiet keeps you stuck, and how taking small, meaningful steps creates more freedom in your life. Now, when I talk about courage, I'm not talking about being brave or fearless. I'm talking about what you do in the moments when fear is still there and you choose to go forward anyway. You see, most people think confidence is what you're supposed to have before you act on anything. Like one day you wake up feeling sure of yourself and then you finally start doing the things you've been putting off. But actually, confidence doesn't come first. Courage does. After a herpes diagnosis, a lot of people go into wait mode. Maybe you've done this, or maybe you're doing this right now. You wait to feel ready to tell someone about your condition. You wait to feel less scared. And you wait because you think that someone saying no to you won't hurt as much or may not happen at all if you give it more time. But you know what happens while you're waiting? Nothing. So here's where courage comes in, because courage is choosing to move forward even when your heart is racing and when your mind is telling you to shut up and to protect itself. Look, courage doesn't mean you stop feeling fear. It means you feel fear and you keep going anyway, no matter what. And every time you do that, something important happens. You start proving to yourself that you can deal with uncertainty and that you won't fall apart because something feels difficult. That's how confidence gets built. Not by thinking about it, not by waiting for it, but by showing yourself through action that you are capable of handling anything that's thrown your way. Without courage, your life literally becomes a waiting room. It doesn't matter if you know what you want, because nothing will ever change unless you choose to do something different. And courage is where change actually begins. Now, I want to talk about fear, because this is why people tend to hesitate. After herpes diagnosis, it makes sense to slow down, to be thoughtful, and to take your time. But that's not what I'm talking about here. What I am talking about is fear that shows up as hesitation. You tell yourself you'll say something later, that you just need more time, or maybe you're in the waiting room waiting for the right moment. And on the surface, that can feel pretty reasonable. But here's what's really happening. Fear isn't protecting you from rejection. It's helping you avoid an uncomfortable moment to avoid the conversation and the not knowing. It's also helping you to avoid the possibility of hearing something you don't want to hear. And when you avoid that moment, do you know what you feel? Relief, which is only temporary, by the way. Not because anything changed, but because you didn't have to face it yet. Over time, that pattern starts dictating how you move through life. You hesitate more, you wait longer, and you keep putting things off. Not because you don't want connection, but because waiting feels a hell of a lot easier than dealing with uncertainty. And this is how fear starts to limit your choices and making decisions for you. I mean, you're still living your life and you're still functioning, right? But you're probably doing it more cautiously than you really want to. And I want you to understand this. Avoiding fear doesn't make it go away, and waiting longer doesn't make sharing your condition with someone easier. It actually makes it harder in the long run. I found that it creates more anxiety and more fear because your mind keeps repeating what ifs and worst case scenarios in your head like a broken record. So this is why courage is so important. Not because you need to tell your story to everyone you meet, and not because you owe anyone an explanation, because you don't, but because courage gives you a choice of what to do next instead of constantly putting your life on hold. It lets you choose when to speak, when to engage, and when to take a leap of faith. And when you start choosing action, even in small ways, things start to change. Maybe not right away, but enough for you to begin noticing. Now, I want to talk about what starts to change when you choose courage. Because this isn't just about what you do. It's about how you start showing up in your life. When fear's in charge, you're constantly managing yourself. What you say, what you don't say, how much of yourself you reveal, and how much you hold back. And I'm telling you, that takes way too much energy and it's frigging exhausting. You may not even realize how much energy it takes until you stop doing it. And I want to mention this because I get asked all the time, how do you have the courage to talk about herpes so publicly? And let me be clear, it didn't come easy. But like I just mentioned, it started with a choice. A choice to first do the inner work to heal and then finding the courage to push through the fear that the stigma causes. I literally took one small step at a time. I didn't wake up one day all confident and say to myself, I'm ready to tell the whole world about my diagnosis. That's not how it happened. I mean, I knew I wanted to help people and share my experience in hopes that it would help other people. But trust me, when I tell you, I hesitated a lot. But there came a time where I didn't want the fear to stand in the way anymore of what I wanted to do. So I jumped off a cliff, took a chance, and looked fear straight in the face. And I'm so grateful I did. You know why? Well, not only did it help with my confidence, but having the courage to face my fears gave me one thing I totally didn't expect. Freedom. Freedom from worry, anxiety, and constantly second-guessing everything. And most importantly, freedom from hiding. And once you feel that kind of emotional freedom, you never want to go back to the way things were. It's amazing what changes in your life once you no longer are living in that constant back and forth in your head. And the part that most people miss is that courage doesn't just change what you do. It completely changes your energy. When you stop hiding and bracing for the worst, everything feels different, and you can just be you. Now look, this doesn't mean you should go do what I did and tell your story to everybody. Like I said, it was a choice I made in order to help people like yourself move past their diagnosis in order to live an amazing life. But what it does mean is that you stop allowing fear to hold yourself back from doing the things you want to do and from finding love too. Now that we've spent this time talking about courage and how it can change your life, let's talk about how you can actually put it into practice. Number one, Choose an action. Pick something that scares you, but also moves you forward. Maybe it's saying yes to a date or sharing your story with a trusted friend. Or maybe it's just practicing telling someone out loud by yourself in the mirror. Number 2, face the fear you're feeling. Before you take action, pay attention to what's happening in your body. For example, is your heart pounding? Do you feel anxious? Or maybe you start sweating. If you feel these things, that's pretty normal. It's just your nervous system reacting to uncertainty. Number 3, move past the fear and take action. This is the moment where you take a leap of faith. Before you do, I want you to take a couple of slow, deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose, let it out with a sigh, and again. This will help to calm down your nervous system. Then without any more hesitation, move forward with the action you want to take. It may feel really uncomfortable, but do it anyway. Remember, change doesn't happen unless you choose to act. Number 4, reflect afterwards. After it's over, take a moment and write down your experience, how you felt before, during, and after. Most of the time, you'll realize that the fear was way bigger in your head than it was in reality. And that realization is what makes each time a little easier. Then your confidence starts to build because you didn't back down, and you prove to yourself that you can handle anything that comes your way. What this episode really comes down to is this. Courage is what changes your life, not confidence. Confidence doesn't show up first. It grows after you choose to move forward while fear is still there. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about choosing not to let fear control what you do next. When you stop waiting to feel ready, stop letting fear make decisions for you, and start taking small steps anyway, your life changes. Not all at once, but enough to notice. And when you stop holding yourself back, freedom starts to show up. Freedom to speak when you want to, freedom to take chances, and freedom to live more openly and honestly. And that changes everything. Well, that's all I have for today. I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't subscribed yet, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on audio, please be sure to do that so that you don't miss future episodes, especially the ones in this important series. Also, if you're tired of navigating your condition alone, come join us at Herpes Wellness. Membership gives you access to a private online community with forums where you can ask questions, make friends, even find love, and get support from people who truly get what you're going through. If you want support on the go, then you can download the Herpes Wellness app, available in the App Store and in Google Play. The links to our website and the app are in the description. And if you're concerned about privacy, we've got you totally covered. The app icon and push notifications say H Wellness. So if someone happens to see your screen, you won't disclose your status unintentionally. And if you're enjoying the podcast or if you have something you'd like to share, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you the next time on the Herpes Wellness Podcast. Bye for now.